Hi guys, tonight we're going to look at writing and graphing linear equations. We've already had a little practice on the graphing part, and so we're going to practice with that again tonight and on writing linear equations. And keep in mind, a linear equation is always in the form of y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. Okay, we are going to graph this example, which is in slope-intercept form. We're going to graph y equals 2x minus 4. But before we can graph it, now we can graph on the calculator and we can check it using the calculator, we need to identify the slope and the y-intercept. So keep in mind, slope is the coefficient of x. In this case it's 2, and so that we know what our rise and run is, we're going to write it as a fraction. And so our rise is 2 and our run is 1. The y-intercept is the constant in the equation. In this case the y-intercept is negative 4, and we're going to write that as an ordered pair, which is 0, negative 4. The first thing we want to do is graph the y-intercept on this coordinate plane over here. So we are going to graph the point 0, negative 4. And again, it's the y-intercept, so it has to be on the y-axis. Next what we're going to do is count the slope, the change in y over the change in x, and from the y-intercept place a second point. So let's go back up and look at the slope. Our slope is 2 over 1, so that means from our starting point, and this is our starting point, the y-intercept, from our starting point we are going to go up 2 and to the right 1. So again, we always start at the y-intercept. We're going to go up 1, 2, and to the right 1, and make a dot. And we're going to do that up 2 and over 1, up 2 and over 1, up 2 and over 1, until we run out of graph. We can also go in the opposite direction. We can go down 2 and to the left 1, down 2 and to the left 1, down 2 and to the left 1. But we're going to fill up the graph with all those points. So up 2 and over 1, and the opposite direction down 2 and to the left 1. And then we just need to connect our dots. And since this is a line, we have to have arrows on the end. So we use the slope again to make at least one other point. I suggest you fill up the graph and then draw a line. Line has arrows to connect the points. It's as simple as that. Oh, and before we go back, just make sure our slope is positive. So this is a puff positive. It's an increasing slope, and we always look at slope from left to right. So he's going uphill, it's increasing, so that means it has a positive slope. So let's take a look at this graph, y equals negative 1/2 x plus 4. So in this graph, is the graph of this equation correct? If not, state the error and then regraph. So let's go back to what we know from before. Our y-intercept is where we start, and our y-intercept should be at positive 4, and that's correct. And then our slope is a negative 1/2. So I'm going to rewrite the slope over here. That means from our starting point, which is the y-intercept, we go down 1 and to the right 2. So if we look at this point right here, that means we go down 1 and to the right 2. Doesn't look like we're ending up on that graph at all. And we have to keep on going down 1 and to the right 2, down 1 and to the right 2. So our graph would look something like this. So what is the error here? The error is that the line on the graph has a positive slope because it's going uphill, but the slope in the equation is negative. So now we're going to regraph it so that it's correct. And again, our starting point is always the y-intercept, so we're going to make a dot at +4 on the y-axis right there. Our slope from the starting point should be down 1 and to the right 2. So here's our starting point, down 1 and to the right 2, down 1 and to the right 2. And we can go in the opposite direction. We can go up 1 and to the left 2, up 1 and to the left 2. So we're going to just fill in those points on the graph. So down 1 and to the right, down 1 and to the right, down 1 and to the right 2, or up 1 and to the left. And make sure you connect these with a straight line. And since it is a line, that means we have to have arrows on both ends. Okay, so far we've taken the equation and we've graphed the line. In this last example too, we have the line. Now we need the equation. So we're going to look at this example. And question A is asking, is the slope of the line positive, negative, or 0? So again, we look at the slope from left to right. It's going uphill. It's increasing. It's a puff, puff, positive. So that means the slope of the line is positive. Letter B, is the y-intercept of the line positive, negative, or 0? Well, the y-intercept is right here. It's on the positive portion of the y-axis, so the y-intercept is also positive. So now we need to calculate the slope of the line. So I'm going to find at least 2 points on the line that intersect at integers, so I can use the point 0, 1. I can use the point 1, 4. I can use the point -1, 2. All of these will tell me what the slope of my line is. So again, I want to make a slope triangle. There's my rise and there's my run. My rise is 3 and my run is 1. So the slope of this line, we already said it was positive, is rise over run. My rise is 3, my run is 1. So the slope of the line, M, is 3 over 1. We can also write that as 3. Now we need to find the y-intercept. And the y-intercept is the point where the line crosses the y-axis. And our y-intercept is right here. That is our y-intercept. In this case, our y-intercept is 0, 1. So our B is 1, and as an ordered pair, it's 0, 1. So now we know that the slope is 3. Oops, not, and the y-intercept is 1. So when we write the equation, we take out M, and we put in a slope of 3. X is our input. We take out B, and we put in a y-intercept of 1. So our equation is y equals 3x plus 1 for this graph right over here. And you can put this equation in your calculator to see if it matches this graph. Okay, last 2 questions. Multiple choice question 1, what is the y-intercept of this line graphed above? And question number 2, use the graph below, what is the slope of the line? If the slope of the line simplifies to an integer, put in the integer. If it stays a fraction, then just enter it as a fraction. Make sure you put your answers in the Google form by 8 a.m. tomorrow. Have a good night.